This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everyone to the July the 8th County Commissioners meeting. If you would, please mute your mics until we ask for public comment. If you would, please mute your mics. At this time, we're going to stand for our invocation by Commissioner Martin and our Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, once again, we you this morning with thanksgiving in our heart, realizing, oh Heavenly Father, you sit high and you look low. You made us and you know everything about us. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless this community. Bless everyone that's here today at this meeting. In your name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll move into the adoption of the agenda. Does anyone have any additions, deletions to the agenda? Commissioner Davis?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have two items. One, previous meetings I discussed holding a workshop regarding the road work in subdivisions. I'd like to add that under new business, and also further discussion on the CARES Act funding, part of what we approved last meeting.
Okay, we'll, item number 8 in new business, we'll look at workshop discussing subdivisions and roads. And item number 9 will be a discussion on the CARES Act funding. Any more additions to the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion made and second by Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Kelly. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Carries 5-0. Clerk. At this time, we're going to open the phone lines for petitions from the public. I will ask you to identify yourself so the clerk can duly get your name, and at that time, then I will call you to your time. Please be noted that you have a 5-minute limit. I will give you a notice at 4 minutes to give you a chance to make your closing remarks. I do know that there's quite a few that want to discuss items further down in the agenda. If you wish to wait, I will open item 6. I will open it up for public comments at that time if you wish to wait till then, or if you want to speak now. Do we have any petitions from the public?
Hi, this is Caitlin Culpepper. I'd like to go ahead and speak if possible.
Okay, Caitlin, you have the floor.
Thank you. Like I said, this is Caitlin Culpepper. I am the Chamber of Commerce Board Chair. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak this morning. As you know, we have on today's agenda discussion regarding the Chamber and TDC relationship. I do have to step away from this meeting shortly because of a prior commitment, but I've got several folks prepared to speak at that time who represent the Chamber, the TDC, and our community very well, and I'm confident I'll be leaving the issue in good hands with them. Given the current state of the world, our country, our community, this is absolutely the last thing we should have to be dealing with right now. Everyone's energy and passion should be fully engrossed in doing what's best for our community and finding ways to help our town thrive during this difficult time, learning and growing from the experiences of our neighbors and implementing change. The personal initiative to separate the Chamber and the TDC began almost 9 months ago and right under our noses. The Chamber Board, as a complete whole, decided unanimously all those months ago that we would do whatever it took to salvage the relationship with the TDC, and not just for the monetary value, but for how important it is that these two organizations work together. We recognize our different missions, but see the similarities in them as well, one prospering because of the other, not in spite of. We proposed combined workshops, review committees, statistics, data, and ultimately more time to either make it right or all be 100% sure that a separation was necessary. And none of those wishes have been granted. I hate to know all that we could have accomplished together over the last several months without this messy, unnecessary distraction. We could have done better by those who look up to us, our community who depends on us to use the little resources that we have wisely. But in darkness, there can be light. Ironically enough, the Chamber and the TDC are working better together now than in several years. We have an exciting fall event collaboration that we'll announce to everyone soon, a better understanding of our budget, contracts, and bylaws, and an engaged board members working diligently to solve these issues and get back to work for our community. There are amazing minds and hearts and souls in these two organizations, and we will prosper in spite of this, better together, no matter how that looks moving forward. As county commissioners, you get a lot of asks, and you're regularly inundated with information and pleas for help. But we are here today with another one. We need your help, your guidance, and your leadership as we navigate how to move forward, and to ask yourselves what the county can do to support the continued effort and future of not only the Madison County Chamber of Commerce, but the Tourist Development Council as well. We cannot, in good faith to our community, allow this split. Our budget as a community is too small to support such a change. The tax dollars of our citizens and those that visit our community are too valuable to spend in such a way that simply will not produce a positive outcome. Give us a chance using your seat of service to the people to make this opportunity for us to do better. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Kate. Do I have any more petitions from the public?
Yeah, this is Charlie Usina with Ring Power Corporation. Wanted to discuss the bids for the new motor grader. We can discuss that now or when that comes up on the agenda.
Okay. Yes, sir. Charlie, if you will, when we come down to Public Works, I will open it up to you at that time.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Do we have any more petitions from the public on the phone?
This is Jerry Williams.
Yes, Jerry. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm the property owner at 3455 Cottonwood Trail in Lee, and I have requested, it's currently, the 40 acres is currently zoned conservation, and I've got a request in to have that changed to agricultural too. And that's really about it.
Okay. Yes, sir. We have that set on for item 2 in our new business. We will
okay, thank you.
Thank you for calling.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any more petitions from the public? Repeating the call, do we have any more petitions from the public? Hearing none, we will close this part of the meeting and ask you, if you're not speaking, to please mute your mics. I have to circle back up and readdress something on the agenda. Under the consent agenda, item number 2 has been struck from the agenda. Item number 2. So, Mr. Tommy, do we need to redo a motion on since we're striking item 2 on the consent?
Yes, sir. If you approve the agenda with that, you probably need a motion to second strike. Mr. Chair.
I have a motion to amend the agenda to delete item 2 under consent by a motion made by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's 5-0. We will move down to the approval of the minutes for the June 24th meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Davis. Any discussion? Aye. All opposed? That carries 5-0 as well. This time we'll open up to our constitutional officers. I see the sheriff. Sheriff, do you have anything for us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Just a couple of things briefly. Not this past weekend, but weekend before last, apparently we had some complaints at Cherry Lake Beach. I believe you received some of those, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And I wanted to just mention to this board, we did go and investigate. There were a couple of trailers that were parked out on the road or on the grass around Cherry Lake Circle near Cherry Lake Beach. They were within the no parking sign range, although one suggestion would be we need more of those signs. But number 2, they were way off the road and they were not impeding traffic. So in the process of
writing the citations that this county has ordained, through our attorney and adopted in the ordinance to citations for in the no parking. It was realized that the attendants at the Cherry Lake Beach had allowed these people to dump their boats and told them they could park in these areas. Now, if that's a misinterpretation or there was, whatever, but that's what came from the attendant, so the deputy then voided the citations. And my point would be this, the ordinance may need to be revisited so that, because I know, the first call was that we would just tow the vehicles, but that's not part of that ordinance. The only time technically, it looks like the towing would be by the Florida statute, or if the vehicles were impeding, or out in the road, or if they were parked down in the beach area, or in the actual county area where the parking places or something like that. So just a suggestion, and also possibly whoever, is in charge of the ARC people that run the Cherry Lake Beach, just to address with them, they cannot tell people they can park, because if they do, it nullifies anything that we're trying to do out there. But the good news, just as a precaution, this past weekend, July the 4th, we went ahead and did some off-duty details out there. Although the rain, I think, took care of most, but there were no issues that I know of, and everything went really well. But as y'all know, that lake is going to be that area is going to be a continual point of contention. I think it will work. I think it can work, and that people can get along out there and behave, but it's going to take, obviously going to take some attention. So we're going to continue to try to have people present out there, but I just, maybe when time allows, maybe this winter, the ordinance could at least be readdressed, so that maybe want to include a towing parameter in there. The second thing, unless y'all have any questions with me about that.
We just need to make sure that, like you said, ARC is up to speed on what the ordinance is, and don't allow people to tell them they can unload and then park off.
And I've spoken with Ms. Paula Arnold, and she does have a copy of the ordinance.
Okay.
The second thing I wanted to just mention, to you commissioners, this has been a tough year. I think that you men know it more than anybody, and it seems like everybody that comes up here has something negative to say, especially about you guys. And I just want y'all to know personally that I don't appreciate that. I appreciate what y'all do. I don't need to patronize you, because I don't work for you. This board has nothing to do with me as sheriff. I have no control over y'all. Y'all don't have control. But I appreciate what y'all do, because we work. And I just want to encourage y'all. I'm not running for a reason. I don't need a vote. I'm not trying to get anybody else. But one thing I want to bring to everybody's attention, I see where you guys get attacked. But last week, one commissioner was attacked specifically, Austin Kelly. I've known Austin 70. He's been doing a job for this community 70. And I've been around this for 40-something years. And I consider him and when I see false information, false accusations, paper by someone, this man is a racist, I push back at that. And I'm going to take a stand. He's a friend. We're in the Gideon. We pray together before he was a commissioner and way before I was a I just support you, Austin. I think you're doing a good job. I think all these do a good job, and I don't see too many people to get your jobs. I see one or two every once. Very many people have enough backbone up here and do. And I appreciate y'all doing that. Just appreciate what you're doing. But I'm gonna stand up. Oh, by God, I disagree with you guys a lot of times. That I don't mind telling you. But that's what we do. This thing works. This thing has worked for years. I was an investigator when Ronnie, ever since I was a 110-year-old. I know you've seen a lot of stuff. You hear a lot of complaints, but there's very few people that are willing to do what you do. So, man, I just want to commend you, and I want to stand by also. I appreciate you being a friend, and I never heard, or even the remotest appearance of you being a racist. And I resent somebody calling you that. But I appreciate you being a friend. I think your response was so. Thank you for not because my response would have been all over the board. But I appreciate your response for that, Austin. I want you to know I'll stand by. And also, you know, everybody wants to. I don't need to, but I can support y'all as a citizen, as a. That's what I got to say. Thank y'all. Y'all got any questions?
Sheriff, I want to thank you. That all at the lake, and we know that's going to be a point. It has been for history, and it will be in the future. But I called Officer Richardson off duty. He went by and checked it and took care of it very promptly with an officer. Appreciate what you guys do. We support the law enforcement in our community, the safety that you our community. And Lonnie, if you would, can we get some at least there at Cherry Lake more no parking signs and to help maybe rectify this? Or your thoughts on that?
I can do whatever you guys want me to do. The problem is there's no guidelines set for how far those parking spaces may be. If you put them at every distance where you can see them, it gets to be costly.
I think our primary area is there within a quarter of maybe a mile of the
near the entrance.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'll have to go check, make sure they're all up, but we put them on each side of every morning road originally.
Well, maybe we may want to.
Section, the Cherry Lake Beach Road, and every dirt road, have one on each side of that road.
I would just
I'll check it.
Abundance right there near that.
I understand, but there has to be some guidelines, you know.
Well, there's some guidelines. We can't put them closer there.
There is.
I would suggest that we actually put some more there within a couple of 100 yards each side of the Lake Beach Drive. That way it would be confusion. Then when somebody parks illegally, then they can't see the sign, if you don't mind.
Yeah, we can put more right.
Sure, absolutely. Yes, sir.
Where you're gonna have most.
Absolutely.
Large crowd.
Mr. Kelly?
I would just add to that, I think that's a good idea, but I think, I know Ms. Arnold has a policy, but if we could ask Carol just to reach out to her and make sure her staff that's out there aware of the policy. So apparently there may have been some misunderstanding, or they weren't aware of it. And
Well, see, they've had some out there.
Yeah, well, I heard they had.
Shirley, you had reached out to Paul and discussed it, so we may just circle back around and make sure there's no misunderstanding. Okay, any more, officers wish to address the board? At that time, we'll close that part. We'll move into the agenda. I hear, accept the consent agenda. Made Commissioner Martin, second by Commissioner Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, carries 5-0. Moving to unfinished business for our update on 19. We'll tell you, Ms. Bassford is out of town today, so she will not be joining us. I had a conversation with her as well as Ms. Pickles, and her recommendation when we get down to it would be to extend the state of emergency. Item 2 would be, or section 2 would be Ms. Albritton. Kim, line with us today?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have.
Good morning, everyone. Madison County reports a total of 265 cases as of yesterday. We've seen an 87% increase in new cases, and this equates to 123 since June 23rd. Most of the cases are attributed to an outbreak in a poultry processing plant in Swan County. However, the community spread is now becoming a major contributing source. The majority of our early cases were due to outbreaks in long-term care facilities. However, this represents 19% of our cases right now. We are also seeing an increase in correctional settings, and this represents 3% of our total COVID cases right now. I'll move on to testing data. Madison County residents that have been tested are 2,355. Our positivity rate has increased from 8.1% to 11.3%. We'd like to keep this at 10% or below. However, with the increase we're seeing across the state, this is just not possible. During the month of June, we tested over 5% of our population in Madison County. However, since May 1st, we've tested 12%. You will continue to see our testing continue. However, you will see 3 regional testing sites in the area, and this is to better serve rural. I was able to work with our state emergency management to have Madison named as a site. The testing will occur every Friday during the month of July from 11 to 7 p.m. at North Florida. This will continue to be a drive-through testing center. And we've also worked to have Suwannee County be named as one of the regional testing sites, and testing will occur every Tuesday at the Suwannee Coliseum. We also negotiated that Taylor County will have a site, and that will be at Lawson on July 11th. Testing will also continue at our health department. However, we're going to test our high-risk priority, and those are first responders, healthcare workers, jail individuals, jail workers, individuals that are over 65 and older. Our samples are collected and taken to the state labs. They are not using commercial labs. However, our regional testing use the commercial vendors to test the population. The health department here has distributed over 44,000 masks to our community. We've ensured that all of our schools, teachers have masks, as well as students. And then there are other populations we have focused on to ensure high-risk populations to ensure they have the masks. I want to emphasize that our public health advisory remains in effect, and all individuals should be wearing masks when they're out in public and should practice social distance. The message continues to be that all individuals, businesses, schools should adhere to the basic mitigation strategies for social distancing, increasing hand hygiene, and wearing a face mask. We're also asking that individuals avoid the 3 C's, which is closed spaces, crowded places, and close contact settings, and that includes close contact conversations. I want to express the urgency of securing everyone's health to stop the spread of this virus. Madison County is booming right now, and they are overwhelming our public health care system. And if we do not get a handle on the current rate of positivity that we're seeing, we're going to be in desperate need. So I think that there's things that we as a community and as a board and a city commission that in the future, I think that we may be needing to consider. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. I'd like to have further conversations, but I need to be able to bring information back to you. So, and I don't have that information right now. So that's all that I have, and I'll entertain any questions.
At this time, does anyone have any questions or comments for Ms. Albritton? Kim, thank you very much for your staff. We appreciate it. Moving to item number 2, possible renewal of motion by Commissioner Kelly, Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? I'm sorry. 5-0. At this point, we're going down to our section. We have some public hearings that we need to dispose of. Item number 1 in new business is a public hearing on the first reading on the land planning code. I'm going to ask Renee to come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to have you back.
First item is a code amendment to the text of the land development code. We're adding setbacks to all lakes, ponds, and wetlands. Our code already addresses. These were some of the bodies so the board did vote to approve the first reading of the ordinance. I had a copy after the ordinance, so this wouldn't be the adoption, but just to move forward with advertising. You can adopt the ordinance at that.
Anyone have any discussion or questions of Ms. Dims? And if not, I'll kind of do forward. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, public hearing. I'm sorry. Do we have any comments from the public on this? Turning our phones unmuted so anyone can. Once again, do I hear any public comments on this moving forward?
Commissioners?
Yes.
This is Lori Horn. Quite a few of us are listening on the phone, and the audio has a horrible echo. We can barely understand what's being said, and it might be because people are forgetting to mute their phones. We can hear feedback of other conversations taking place, and it makes it very difficult to participate in the public hearing when we can't clearly hear what's being said. So please, if you can just remind everyone to mute their phones. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord. If you would, please, anyone that doesn't have your phone muted, please mute your mics, please. Hearing no more public comments now, we have a motion on the table, on the floor, and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That carries 5-0. Moving to item number 2. Ms. Demps, you are still up.
The second item is a request by Mr. to change the zoning on this parcel of land and lease from conservation to Ag 2. Mr. Williams is interested in selling the property, and the potential property owners are interested in placing a dwelling on the property, but conservation does not allow any type of construction, so they would have to go through that process to have it changed. And they're interested in Ag 2. Planning and zoning held up Thursday, and the board voted to approve. There was only one board member opposed. And his reason for opposition is he'd rather it be Ag 1 instead of Ag 2, but the surrounding property owners are all at Ag 2, which is, I would think it would be appropriate to go with that same zoning. The reason for the public hearing today is for you to approve for me to proceed with the transmittal of the comp plan amendment to the state. And I'll be back once I get all of the state approval and review from the state agencies to advertise and approve for the adoption at a later meeting date.
Okay. We'll open the floor for public hearing on item 2 on the request to change from conservation to Ag 2 on this piece of property. Do I have any comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Davis, second by Commissioner Martin. Follow its unusual path. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee.
While we're here. Hello?
Yes, this is Jerry Williams. I have a question for Renee, real quick. How soon can I get a copy of the minutes of this hearing once this is complete?
The minutes are completed by the clerk. He's not here today, but he has someone that's recording the minutes. About how soon?
It should be in a few days. I can get it to Renee, get it sent to you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank all of you very much. I appreciate it.
Ms. Williams, it'll just be a copy of the minutes. It won't be approved till we get the information back from the state and revisit it, but you can get the copy of the minutes in a couple of days.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Moving to item number 3, we have a public hearing on enactment of an ordinance providing the disposition of real property. I'm going to call on Mr. Reeves.
Yes, sir. The proposed ordinance, and it has been noticed and is ready for a public hearing for you all to decide whether or not you want to enact it. Under Florida law, you are given certain statutory ways to dispose of real property. Usually that's at a sealed bid procedure. That's what the statute provides. So it's got some exceptions for small pieces with very little value, that type of thing. The other thing the statute says is that you all can dispose of property as provided in other ways if you provide it by ordinance. Now, in the past, what y'all have done is you've enacted an ordinance that allows you to have the dispose of the property at a public sale, like a foreclosure sale, where the clerk would auction it off. You've enacted an ordinance that would allow you to sell it by a private, just negotiate a contract as long as that's noticed and there's a public hearing on it in front of the board, et cetera. The board became interested in having the option to dispose of real property, though, by online auction. And that was not in our previous ordinances, and that's what's been added. That's the difference between this ordinance and the previous ordinances. So if you look at the ordinance itself, and I know you've got a copy there, you start on paragraph 3 gives you different options. So paragraph 3 was the contractual option. That's the way it's always been with the, that we can enter into contracts with people as long as they're noticed and come before the board. Paragraph 4 is the traditional or in-person auction. So if y'all have a piece of property, you can let the clerk auction it on the courthouse steps like a foreclosure sale. And then the new one is section 5. It has a lot of paragraphs. That is an online auction option, and that would allow, if y'all would like, you can send a piece of property to an online auction like we had talked about before. Taylor County has apparently been doing that fairly successfully. The online option is a little bit different than the other options, and the biggest material difference from y'all's perspective is that with the other options, you retain the right to cancel the sale right up until closing. With this option, with the online option, what you're doing is you're sending it to an auction company, and you're saying if they get a certain price, they will get a auction price for it. They'll get a percentage. So once they have done that and bid it out and gotten somebody willing to pay, you're not going to be able to cancel that. So whatever decisions you're going to make, you need to go ahead and make before you send it to that auction company, and then be willing to abide by that. That's really the main difference. From your perspective, I think one of the advantages of this is that with these online auction companies, they handle all the money. They have people that are qualified. They give you certified funds when it's over, so it's a lot simpler in that regard. But anyway, this number 5 allows you the option of doing an online auction. You're not required to do it that way or any other way unless you choose to do it that way. So it just gives you one more option that you can employ to dispose of real property.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or comments for Mr. Reeves on this? Public hearing. Do we have any comments from the public on this enactment of ordinance? If you would, please, I'm hearing some background noise. Could you please mute your mics, please? Could you please mute your mics if you're not wishing to speak? Hearing no public comments, do I hear a motion to enact this ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Kelly.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Moore. Any discussion? Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that carries 5-0. While we're here, we're supposed to have a representative from Gov Deals online.
I'm here. Good morning.
Yes, ma'am. We're going to, since we just finished this, since your part ties in with it, I'm going to allow you to address the board and tell us what Gov Deals does and how it works, please, Stacy.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. This is Stacy Kurtz from Gov Deals. I appreciate you letting me have a few minutes to speak. And frankly, Mr. Reeves did my work for me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Gov Deals, as he has pointed out, we have been in business for over 20 years, and we do indeed provide online auctions for government agencies. So only government can sell with us, but anybody can buy. We do everything from soup to nuts. As long as it's legal, ethical, and moral, and you own it, we can help you sell it. So whether it's real estate or trinkets or vehicles, you name it, we can help you sell it. The difference between Gov Deals and your local auctioneer, as Mr. Reeves pointed out, we're here to help you to sell your assets, whether, like I said, it's real estate or not. The buyer pays us. So whether you choose to, keep it online and go through the complete auction, or you decide, hey, I need to pull it back, it is your asset, your auction, your wording, your call. All righty. As Ms. Pickles has up here the quick summary of who we are and what we do. There is no fee to you. The buyer pays us, and it's 12.5%. Use us one time with one asset, and move on to something else, or use us in conjunction with what you're currently doing, because we do not require contracts. We are non-exclusive. One of the things that keeps us separate from the rest of the world, if you will, is we have over 900,000 verified registered bidders across North America. That includes Canada as well. We have a marketing department who's based in Montgomery, Alabama, who's dedicated to promoting your assets, because frankly, if your asset doesn't sell, we don't get paid. So we're very motivated. So when I say to promote your asset, I mean they also push it out to the existing bidder base who has a profile set up looking for a specific asset of yours, and also to online publications as well. Your purchasing department's really going to love the reporting features we have that comply with transparency and audit trails. And also to the financial collections, we do all the money transactions for you. So we collect it from the winning bidder. We keep our commission check out, and we send you the proceeds within a matter of 7 days or so. In addition to myself, I have a colleague based here in Orlando, and we're here to support you 24/7. And also, too, any of the cooperative contracts, you're more than welcome to piggyback on. I strongly encourage this, because at the end of the year, given a cooperative contract, you will get back 1.25% of whatever you've contributed to that contract. So that's basically free money for the county. All righty. With that being said, the items there are as is, where is. The county has no involvement in removing it. The average auction day, as you can see there, is 7 to 10 days. And this overview here particularly is for any and all other assets, minus the real estate, obviously. If you have a minute or two, I'd like to address how it is we handle the Taylor County auction. They had gone out to RFP 2 different times, unsuccessful, had contacted me in regards to selling the real estate for the Old County Hospital. It was full of asbestos and was on, I believe, 5 acres. They received over about 9,900 bids, or I'm sorry, views that came through to view it, and there you be. And it sold there, as you can see there, for $310,000. So they had 200 bids. And in that, all the processing and paperwork was done on our end in cooperation with our county engineer, Kenneth Dudley. So we'd like to, point out the difference between, us and the local guy, and that is you're going to be getting more exposure because indeed we have over 900,000 registered bidders. That's our flagship, if you will, in the state of Florida. But in addition to Taylor County, the city of Jacksonville uses us primarily for their tax deed auctions. And other counties around the state of Florida alone would be Clay County, Citrus County, and Columbia County that use us as well. And there are many others as well, but those are the ones closest to you. And with that, I can get into later on, if you like, a detailed demo of the actual software. But I just want to provide you just a quick overview and highlights of what it is that we do and how it is we can help you. And again, keep in mind that there is no fee to you, and it is your auction. and your call as to when and where you would like, to keep it online and set minimum bids, et cetera. That's pretty much all I have for you. And like I said, I'd be more than happy to provide an in-depth web demo at your convenience.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kurtz. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Ms. Kurtz, could you describe how someone would sign up to be able to bid if they're not already signed up?
Absolutely. So if you go to our website, govdeals.com, there is a tab on the very top. It says Become a Bidder. That's where you register. Short, sweet, and simple.
I can say I'm a registered bidder on that. It's a very simple, very straightforward process.
There's no fee to do that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Kelly.
we have to have any kind of bidding between other services like them, or can we just outright hire one company without?
Well, you don't have to bid out who's going to handle your auctions, but you also, though, you're not looking to hire one auction company to be your auction company either. You do that on a case-by-case basis. So we bring a piece of property to you or a group of properties, and we recommend, hey, we think this should be disposed of X, and then y'all would decide. And part of that decision is whether you'd send it to GovDeals or somebody else.
Gotcha. Okay.
Any more comments or questions?
Mr. Chair, I guess we still reserve the right to reject an offer.
Well, you would, from what I understand, you put a minimum bid price, and once that minimum bid price is reached, then it's a done deal. But you do have to set a minimum.
Right. And so you got to make it, when you send it to GovDeals, you got to be certain that if you get that price, you're willing to transfer it, because at that point, they will have invested money in advertising and all that, and they're entitled to be paid if they bring us a ready, willing, and able purchase.
In essence, it would be just when you set a base price. Once that price is reached, then it's a done deal.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This sounds like a very good deal, and that it would save us a lot of paperwork on our end of it. That would be my motion if we accept GovDeals to handle this piece of program.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion's made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Commissioner Moore to enter into some deals with govdeals.com. Any more discussion?
And Mr. Chairman, what we'd like to do, I think, is the clerk has several parcels that he's interested in using them for, and so we'll bring that back to y'all at a later meeting with a recommendation, so that y'all look at it.
As you said, it'll be a case-by-case basis, because if we elect to dispose of it from a different rep, it's just be what we notice the clerk to send to GovDeals.
What y'all decide to do is one more tool in utility.
Okay. Sure. Sounds great. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, here's 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Stacy, for your call, and we look forward to doing business.
Absolutely, and thank you for your support. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, we're going to go back up to our Public Works Department now, and I'm going to ask Mr. Lonnie to come forward. Our item number 1 is renew and approval of bids for a new motor grader. And Lonnie has got us some bids there in front of you in your packet.
Yes, sir. You should have a spreadsheet that looks like this in your packet.
Yes, we did.
We did receive 2 bids for a current model tandem drive motor grader. We got one from John Deere for a model 620G and one from Caterpillar for a model 120. We'll start with the John Deere. It's at the top. The cash price, if we bought that machine outright, is $259,320. There is no cost for the 5-year warranty and the 5-year buyback that we get with those machines. We've been doing this for several years. The total cost for the purchase price is the same thing at $259,320. The guaranteed buyback at the end of the 5 years and 7,500 hours is $135,000. The guarantee purchase price with the buyback included would be a cost to the county of $124,320. We asked for a annual lease payment for a term of 5 years. They gave us an annual lease payment of $29,002.32. The Caterpillar machine, the 120, the cash price is $218,985. There's also no cost of repairs or for the 5-year, 7,500-hour warranty. So the total for that combined is the same thing at $218,985. There's a guaranteed buyback at the end of the term for $95,000, which puts the cost to the county at $123,985. Their annual lease rate for the term of the 5-year lease would be $29,295.52. Based on what we've got here, it is our recommendation at the road department to go with the John Deere 620G for $29,002.32.
Lonnie, before we go any further, I do know there's some call in from
Yes, sir.
some of the representatives that wanted to speak before we make a decision. Sir, are you still on the line?
Yes, sir, Mr. Commissioner. This is Charlie Cena with Ring Power. I appreciate your time and allowing me to speak this morning. I do appreciate Mr. Thigpen, Lonnie, in the process that he's always done, been very fair, honest, and open about how these bids are done. So as a company, we do appreciate these fair and closed bids going out. The only thing that I would like to speak to, and I wouldn't be doing my job, and I'd get fired by my company if I weren't to speak. This is probably one of the closest contested bids over the 22 years that I've been doing this job. And honestly, you can see it came down to $300 a year. So over the time frame, that's about $1,500 for the 5-year lease. One thing I would like to bring to your attention, and I don't foresee the county being in this situation, but in the 5 years, if the county were not able to purchase another motor grader and they were to have to keep this motor grader, you would see the purchase price that they would have to pay to keep that motor grader compared to 135 or 95. Obviously considerable difference. But as Mr. Thigpen said, that y'all been doing this for years. I don't foresee the county getting in that situation. But I just want to bring that to your attention. Obviously, that 135,000 and that 95,000, that's basically residual, which goes to speak to the annual lease value or annual lease rate, excuse me. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate Mr. Thigpen and how he's always done these bids. And like I've said, they've been fair and honest. But this is a closely contested one, and I would be remiss if I didn't speak to it, and I would hope that you could see why I would. I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Did we have the representative from the other company online by any chance?
Yes, this is Tommy Slay. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, Tommy, go ahead.
Very good. I'd like to agree with Charlie. Lonnie has always been real fair with us and the county. We appreciate doing business with the county over the years, and I'm here if y'all have any questions. But thank y'all for how y'all have treated us over the years. I'm here if y'all have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have any discussion?
I'll make a motion that we go to the recommendation. Mr. Thigpen.
Motion made by Commissioner Martin to follow Mr. Thigpen's recommendation. Second by Commissioner Moore. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? I'm sorry, that carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for calling in. Item number 2, approval of maintenance map on Northeast Dandelion Street. Mr. Lonnie?
Yes, sir, I do have the maps in front of you that's been completed by Briggs and Thompson for the little section we had discussed earlier with your approval to have those maintenance maps done. If you have any questions or anything, I'll try to address them if possible. Mr. Steve was also down here with me before they were completed, everything flagged off. So.
Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Thigpen, the map, you've reviewed the map and you're familiar with the property.
Yes.
And it accurately shows what the county has maintained in excess of 7 years.
Yes. Yes.
Noted. Any discussion or questions on the maintenance map on Dandelion?
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Kelly to approve the maintenance map. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? 5-0. Okay, and item number 3, Lonnie, request to declare a Caterpillar 416C backhoe surplus property.
Yes, sir. When we purchased the Caterpillar backhoe that we did a few months ago, we had money in our budget to also pay the buyback that they were talking about. That's the way those work. They take the buyback off up front, we pay interest on the difference. If we choose to retain those machines, we have to pay that buyback back. We had a John Deere that was on a 5-year lease. We paid the $41,500 to keep that machine because it was 5 years old. We had a Caterpillar machine. We keep it as a backup. We try our best to keep 2 machines. Those are the ones that go out on call at night. We don't want to get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and our backhoe's in the shop. So right now we have 3 that Cat backhoes in 1999. So it is, I guess, 21 years old. It has 7,942 hours on it. Since we bought the John Deere backhoe that was 5 years old, it is a backup machine when we bought the new Cat backhoe, the brand new one. We would like to surplus this 416 backhoe and put it on an auction.
Any discussion or questions for Lonnie on this?
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
sir.
move that we, grant the request.
Motion made by Commissioner Moore to grant the request to declare this machine a surplus, second by Commissioner Martin. Any discussion?
7,900 hours sounds like it's almost ready for an overhaul.
We've done some work on it. It's actually in pretty good shape. I feel like it'll bring a pretty decent price.
Yeah.
You never know when you put it on auction, but we really don't need that third machine. I think we'd be better off to try to get rid of it and put that money towards something that we need.
I guess this is something that we could move to gov deals if we chose to. Okay. Well, the motion's made and seconded to declare this Caterpillar surplus. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 5-0. While we're discussing it, what would be the pleasure of the board, to locally or to move it to gov deals? And
I move we move it to gov deals.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
yes, sir.
Do we have to go with gov deals? There are some other online options.
No, we get.
There are some companies that we've dealt with in the past. Just for reference, and now I'm not trying to tell you guys what to do, I'll put it on whatever option you tell me to.
Sure.
But there is some other options.
We're also going to set up reasonable,
You have to do a
minimum bid.
you have to do a minimum bid. Let's table that and next meeting, then we'll decide how we're
There's
going
some
to.
of the options that are familiar with the construction equipment and might could give us an idea of what the minimum expected price would be.
Let's move that, let's table that, and we'll get some feelers, if you would do some research and get us, an appraised value, an expected value, and then we'll go from that next, we'll put that on next meeting. Okay, that concludes all of Public Works. If anybody has anything else for Mr. Lonnie while he's up? I appreciate the work you guys doing. I know this rain has been, a little
Yes, sir.
stretched.
Yes, sir. It's happened before, it'll happen again.
I understand. I hope we live long enough to see it.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Okay. Thank you for the work that you guys do, Lonnie.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we're going back to new business. Item number 5 is a request on Northwood subdivision for a real property. In your packet, there is a very small parcel of property that's there that Northwood actually gave to the county back some years ago. It was designed for possibly a green box or collection box. It's not being used, and they have requested that property to come back to them. However, this property now belongs to, it's been transferred to the county, so the county can't just give it back. It has to follow a certain set of guidelines. they have since then asked that would the county entertain the idea of leasing it back to them, for their use, on a long-term lease. And they're willing to go that route if the county, if the board would be so willing to do that. I'm gonna let Tommy kind of fill us in a little bit more.
Well, and this happens from time to time. It really doesn't matter how we acquire a piece of property. Once it's the county's, it can only be disposed of according to the laws and regulations. So I don't think you would have the ability just to give them a gift of the property. Now, you can certainly, if we're not using the property and you want to allow the homeowner association, I think in their letter, they said they wanted to store lime rock and millings and that sort of stuff. If y'all want to allow that, I don't think there's any problem with that. And I think you could do a lease agreement. I think you'd want to, and it can be a long-term lease agreement, but I think you'd want to have a provision that you can give them, 3 months notice, and then you could cancel the lease. That way, if you did find a use for the property, you could always take it back. And that would give them time to use up whatever millings or, lime rock or whatever they've got on there. So yes, I think you can do that. The next step would be, if y'all are interested in doing that, would be to direct staff to draw you up a lease. We'll bring it back at another meeting.
They had asked for us to, if we could do a long-term lease. It's a relatively small piece of property if you look in your packet.
They'd like to be able to lease it for $1 a year, and they would like the ability to be able to fence it as part of that.
I think that's a problem. Now, it can't be 40 years and we never got it.
Sure.
That's the same as a sale.
Exactly.
It's got to be, it can be however long they want, but with 3 months notice or
By
some
either
amount of
party.
time notice,
Sure.
we'll get out of it. And then, yeah, I think that'd be perfect.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Do I hear a motion to follow through with staff to start the process of a lease agreement? Motion made by Commissioner Kelly to enter into a lease agreement for, what was the amount, Commissioner Kelly? In your
$1 a year, you need a year, number of
Yeah, you
years.
would need to, yes, an annual lease of.
Annual lease, with 20 years be,
Well, we
I
can
think
just do an
annual.
rollover
Rollover.
on 30 days.
That's
With a 3 month.
3 months,
90 days.
3 months, yeah.
And I think if I'm understanding you right, you're telling me to draft that lease and bring it back to you. You
Right,
have to
yeah.
written document. Yes,
So,
sir.
so
We certainly do.
making sure the motion is stated to enter into a annual lease for $1 a year, a 3 month, clause in there that could be canceled by either party with a 3 month notice. Commissioner, motion's made by Commissioner Kelly, second by Commissioner Davis. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Madam Clerk, that carries 5-0. We're going to move into item number 6. This is discussion regarding the agreement between the Tourism Development Council and the Chamber of Commerce. We have quite a few people that wish to speak, but initially we have Ms. Dawn Perez, the Executive Director for Taylor County Chamber of Commerce. Ms. Perez, are you online?
Okay, this is Emerald Green, and I was gonna speak first and.
Emerald, give me a second. Everyone, please mute your mic. It's time for your comments, please. We're getting a lot of feedback. Emerald, are you speaking for Ms. Perez? She was first on the list.
We had spoken with Sherilyn to see if we could redo the order, and if it was me, and then I would speak and then introduce Ms.
Okay.
Perez.
Okay, well, Emerald, you have the floor. Remember, everyone, we have a 5-minute limit, and if you would just adhere to that, and if you get close, when you get to 4 minutes, I will notify everyone to give them the 1 minute to do their closing.
Okay, thank you.
You have the floor.
Okay, my name is Emerald Green, and I've served on the chamber board now for a little bit over a year. Before that, I worked with the chamber hand in hand throughout the years in getting things started, like the business after hours and several other things throughout the chamber. I have now been the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce for the last 4 to 5 months. and have served in the capacity of helping with the Chamber of Commerce and the TDC Executive Director. And I would like to come before the board to say that after we had a workshop a couple of months ago to where the Chamber and the TDC had come together as a way that we could become more active together and work together, and had come up with several upcoming events that together as a Chamber TDC board that we could present and market Madison County even better than we have in the past. And then at the very next meeting, the TDC board voted on a 5-4 split to split the two apart. With that, I'm asking the county commissioners today to vote to keep the TDC and the Chamber working together, because I feel as the betterment for Madison County that the two entities together we can accomplish more together than we can separate. Because when you see the vision together, and that vision is Madison County and growing Madison County and growing the businesses of Madison County, heads and beds, along with our mom and pop downtown businesses, which in this day and age is even more important than it's ever been before, that together the Chamber of Commerce and the TDC can work together to make Madison County more prosperous than it's ever been before. In the capacity that I've been in on the board and now serving as the executive director, I fully feel 100% that the Chamber and the TDC can work together and can make that possible together, not by splitting up. If you split up, you're working, it's almost like you're working against each other, and you're having to try to find out what one person wants instead of it all being together. Before I even became as much involved with Madison County Board as I have been lately, I've been in Jefferson County. I bought the newspaper in Jefferson County 13 years ago, and I've worked hand in hand with the Jefferson County Chamber for the last 13 years. Katrina Richardson is the Chamber of Commerce Director for the Chamber and the TDC both, and I watched her day in and day out be able to do that job effectively and with utmost respect for everything she does. She does it well, she does it perfect, and she's a prime example of how the two boards, Chamber and TDC, can and should work together. Also, many years ago, I became involved with the Taylor County Chamber of Commerce merely through their pageants, and Dawn Perez and I became friends several years ago through the pageant system world. I came to know her as the Chamber Board Director along with the TDC, and I've watched her for the last several years on how she works the Chamber in Taylor County. Another prime example of how the two can work together effectively, and it should be done. As the Madison County Chamber of Commerce, we focus on trying to promote Madison County and things like the Down Home Days. We promote the business after hours. We've recently started a poker tournament that we had our first one back in February. We have another one coming up next month. We have our annual banquet where we promote our local businesses. We have free advertisement for members. We've started a weekly newsletter where our members can advertise free on there. We've started
4 minutes, Emerald.
Okay. I would just like to end with the TDC and the Chamber should be working hand in hand. We are after one goal, and the one goal for Madison County and everybody that lives and works in Madison County should be that we need to promote Madison County so that those of us that are trying to make a living here can actually make a living. And the Chamber and the TDC are both two entities that should support every bit of that. And with that, I would like to introduce Dawn Perez, who is the Chamber Director and TDC Director of the Taylor County Chamber of Commerce and TDC, who again is a awesome representative of how the two can work together. Thank you.
Thank you, Emerald. Ms. Perez, you have the floor.
Thank you for having me. I have been with the Chamber of Commerce in Taylor County for 26 years. For the past 20 years, we have had a Tourism Development Council and Chamber partnership, and it has worked very well for us. it can work for you with the right employees. We have 2 full-time employees. We are the chamber, the TDC, and we do all the special event planning for the entire county. If you separate these 2 organizations, you're going to cripple both organizations. You need to pool your resources, your tax dollars to have a successful tourism and chamber office. We're proof that it can be done. In fact, Madison had originally mirrored their office after the Taylor County Chamber because that is how it works for us. It also works for Monticello. They combined, I guess it's been about 6 years, and it has worked very well for Katrina over in Jefferson County. The 3 of us counties work very closely together to be successful. And I believe that you have what it takes here in Madison County to also be just as successful. We currently have 350 members. We're over the chamber, the Small Business Development Center. We have 5 very large festivals. We have 4 fundraisers and 4 pageants, and we do all that with 2 employees. I know that the way your organization right now with the chamber and the TDC is structured, currently Emerald is a part-time employee. With that, I would recommend, if it were in my county, that you would hire an additional part-time person to take on some of the TDC and chamber duties. But to split these 2 organizations, I think is just not a very good idea. Funds are scarce, especially right now with everything that we are all going through. I know that your county is suffering from everything just as much as we are. And this is the worst time you could ever even contemplate doing such a split. And I believe that you have some very knowledgeable people here that could run a very successful chamber the way it is structured right now. I do not believe you should split these 2 apart.
Thank you, Ms.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Perez. Next up is Bobby Brio. Bobby, are you online?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Bobby.
Thank you. So I come to you today with gratitude that you are hearing me. I'm a member of the TDC board and currently vice chair. I'm a new member of the Chamber of Commerce, but joined the chamber 3 months after I arrived in Madison, almost 4 months ago. I am also one of the 4 TDC members who voted against the split. Since I became a member of TDC, I have been asking mostly unanswered questions about how things work. When this issue of the split arose, I decided that for the benefit of the board and myself, I would create a spreadsheet outlining the actions of the board so we could all see what we've done in order to evaluate ourselves. This was meant to be a tool for the board. I reviewed all minutes from January 2017 to March 2020 and documented in a spreadsheet all tax expenditures and other actions approved by the TDC. Out of that document came some factual information and some perspectives, which I included in a memo to the board. There were some surprises for me. We have been an inactive, underachieving board and poor servants of tax dollars to be spent for the benefit of the county. I called on the board to make some decisions about who we want to be. The board responded by having a workshop on tourism. It was a lively conversation with a lot of enthusiasm for things that can be done and are doable in Madison County. Out of that workshop has developed an active, right now, committee for an October event all month long in October of haunted houses, a hay bale trail, a walk through the cemetery, and a masquerade ball, just to name a few of the many activities. We are partnering with the chamber, and other citizens are now coming forward with their own ideas for things that they want to present for the county. Then we had a second workshop on June 8th to discuss the split. Brenda Graham, our chair, was unable to be present, so I chaired the meeting. 2 members were not present, Chairman Graham and Commissioner Waldrop. Again, we had a lively and stimulating 2-hour conversation with all but one person voicing agreement on recommendations to be brought to the TDC board meeting on June 11th. Those recommendations are that the relationship between TDC and the chamber continue, that the elements of the current contract between TDC and the chamber be implemented, that the working relationship between the 2 boards continue to expand, that a new TDC administrator position be created, which is a part-time 20-hour-a-week position, that a strategic plan be created and implemented for the use of TDC tax dollars in Madison County, and that a review of the success of these items be undertaken in a year. On June 11th, at the regular TDC board meeting, as soon as housekeeping items were completed, a motion was introduced to split TDC and the chamber. I tried to submit the recommendations I just read to you and was denied. Chairman Graham stated that they were not pertinent to the motion and would not be discussed. People spoke against the motion, and then a vote was taken, and it was 5-4 in favor of the split to defund the chamber. As an aside, the proposed budget which will be presented to TDC board tomorrow night completely defunds the chamber.
Bobby, you're at 4 minutes, Bobby.
I have learned that prior to the formation of TDC, both the city and the county included in their annual budgets funding for the chamber. Once TDC was formed, that funding was discontinued. So to conclude, I remain opposed to the split. I ask 2 things of you: to vote against approval of the request to end the agreement between the chamber and TDC. And if you cannot do this, please find an immediate source of funding beginning October 1st for the chamber. And one last comment. As I have talked with people or been in various meetings with leaders of this county, not one person other than the 5 on the TDC board who voted for the split have said they support this split. Not one person. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bobby. Next up, we have Jessica Webb. Jessica, are you on?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You have the floor, Jessica.
All right, great. Thank you. Well, I think most of you know me. I own 2 businesses downtown, a Main Street Realty as well as Grumpy's Diner. So the future of our Chamber of Commerce is extremely important to me. I've been involved with our Madison County Chamber of Commerce and Tourism since 2006, when North Florida Community College appointed me to be their representative to the board. Even though I don't work at the college anymore, I have still remained very active with the chamber, and I have served in the capacities as board member, board secretary, board chair. I was the Down Home Days planning chair one year, and I have also filled many other volunteer hats. I've worked with various members of our community to help our chamber be the best that it can be. And I've seen many board members come and go. I myself even took a hiatus from the board for a few years, but I became active again about 3 years ago as a local business owner. As a business owner, I feel that it is vital for me to be involved in our chamber. But I can honestly say that the current board of directors has been one of the most engaged boards that I've had the privilege to work with. This board is comprised of people who truly care about the community, from helping our businesses to attracting visitors and to coordinating events that showcase our beautiful area. We had a great planning committee, and we were working on a jam up Down Home Days for April when we had to stop because of COVID. So with today's clientele, I firmly believe that our chamber is even more vital to the success of all of our businesses, and even more critical for the small, local-owned mom and pop businesses. We don't have huge marketing dollars here, and we don't have a lot of media to advertise our businesses on. We have our local newspaper, which is great, And our chamber provides invaluable marketing tools to all of us. They have a large database, social media opportunities, and the networking events. Without these opportunities, it's hard to market in a rural area such as ours. And the chamber is absolutely our best resource. Back when I was the board chair, I think most of you know Ted Ensminger. He was the executive director at that time. I watched him work tirelessly to merge the chamber efforts with the efforts of the TDC to get heads in our beds and to bring tourism to our small community. He was able to spearhead the efforts of both organizations, and in his words, this arrangement was a perfect marriage between private enterprise and government efforts. And this is this is especially important in a small community where our resources are limited. We often find ourselves wearing many hats to get the job done. And the union of two organizations, such as the TDC and the Chamber, makes good financial sense because there are two entities working together for a common goal, and that goal is Madison County. As a realtor, I speak to people daily, and I sell our wonderful county. They want to come here from the large counties that have so many issues going on right now. As a restaurant owner, I talk to visitors who come to our town, and they are just amazed at our small community and what we have to offer. I love our Madison County, and I want to continue to grow, see it grow and thrive. A viable Chamber of Commerce is vital to that growth. So I humbly ask you today to not support the split of these two entities. Two are stronger than one. Emerald Green Parsons has shown us that both entities can be managed by one person. This position of executive director needs someone with vision, passion for our community, and the organization skills to handle many hats. This has been a successful merger for many years, and a decision was made by a few people in just a few months. I don't believe enough thought and planning has gone into such a split as this. It's been a success for many years. So if you, as the county commission, feel the split is necessary, I hope that as a local business owner, you're going to find the means to help our chamber continue. I've been in this community for 45 years. I've seen our downtown area thrive.
4 minutes. That's your 4 minutes. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm almost done. I've seen our downtown thrive, and I've seen it be a ghost town. We are right now almost back to full capacity, and that is wonderful. So we need to work together to keep it that way. So I just ask that you continue. You think about what this would do to our businesses, our visitors, people who want to move here, and how our community will suffer if we lose our chamber. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Next, we have Byron. Byron, are you online?
I am, Commissioner Waldrop. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes, sir. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, I'm very grateful that you've taken the time to hear from the public and specifically the chamber on this morning. Obviously a vital point of discussion for the chamber. And I'm going to be talking the next just couple minutes here on the business side of it. Does it make good business sense to separate, as well as some legal questions that I believed are involved with the decision. On the business side of it, in your packet there, you have a spreadsheet of the breakdown of historical spending by TDC. And what you would see is that the funds that they receive, they're only spending about, on average, 76% over the last of between 2011 and 2018 fiscal years. So the resources that they are given, they are not actually allocating all those dollars, and that includes the dollars that they have been giving to the chamber for administrative services. So that's one argument against the defunding of the chamber, is that the resources are there and they're projected to have a surplus balance, or projected to have a fund balance of $226,000 at the end of this fiscal year, as a result of running a surplus virtually every year. So that's one point to be made. Second point is that if you were to take just the economic value of down home days alone, I guesstimate that we have about a $50,000 to $60,000 economic impact in the community just in down home days alone. And you could justify the funding for the chamber with that one event. And that doesn't even include all the additional events that Emerald mentioned to you earlier that go to serve and promote our community. To defund the chamber who's gonna take on planning down home days if we don't have some full-time staff people that can take care of that for this community? And we're trying to revitalize that event and draw more people in addition to having a bunch of other things that we're trying to do. Third thing, from a business standpoint, is that in the current arrangement, we have 2 full-time equivalent employees. If the recommendation from the workshop had been accepted, we would have had another part-time employee. So we would have equivalents of 2.5 full-time employees had the recommendation for the workshop been taken. If you embrace the recommendation that's going to come before you by the Tourist Development Council, what's going to end up happening is that they're going to have 1 part-time employee. If the chamber survives and could afford it, we would have 1 part-time employee because that's all we could afford. So how does it serve our community to do the same amount of work going from 2 to 2.5 full-time employees down to half or 1 full-time employee? That simply just doesn't make sense for what's best for the community. All it serves is personal agendas. Switching gears to kind of some legal questions that I have. If you were to look up, the Florida law is very clear on certain things as it relates to tourist tax dollars. One thing that it's clear on is the makeup of the council that's formed through the ordinance. 6 members of the public are allowed, are substantiated to be on the board. And it says in the statute that 6 members of the council shall be persons who are involved in the tourist industry. I would argue that 3 of the members of the Tourist Development Council at present have absolutely no connection to the tourist industry. 2 of those 3 voted in favor of the split, and I would concede that those votes need to be nullified because they have no connection to the tourist industry. Second of all, a plan has to be adopted.
You're at 4 minutes, or just notice.
Second of all, a plan has to be adopted. There is no plan by the Tourist Development Council, and it has to be adopted by y'all. If a substantial plan, there is no current plan. I believe that we've been operating from a plan from many years ago. If a substantial change to the plan is made, then a new ordinance is required per the statute. And lastly, I had a conversation with Tommy Reed today, and I'm interested to hear what his feedback is. But to my understanding, the statute does not have as an authorized use of the funds for tourist tax dollars administrative expenses. What is authorized is contracts with chambers of commerce, even if those funds are used indirectly to support administrative expenses. So I'm here today to speak in favor of keeping it together and ask you, if you vote for the split, that you find a way to pull funds from tourist tax dollars to still support the chamber by contract with the funding. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Do we have any more petitions from the public online?
Yes, I would like to address the commission if I could, please.
If you would, state your name, please.
I'm Eddie Bell. I'm the mayor of Lee and also on the Tourist Development Council. A few things that's come to my mind through this is, number one, false information the chamber's been putting out there. I had sent y'all, the commissioners, a spreadsheet showing what was actually spent in grants. You'll notice that they did not bother to include a lot of very large grants in the numbers they provided to y'all. Also, when you look at the fund balance of the TDC, if you think back over the last few years, we've funded partially with the county, the pickleball tennis courts. Also, we've partnered with the county again to build the restrooms out at Pinette on the rails to trails. And another item we've done in the past, which was before my time, but we upgraded the utilities around Four Freedoms Park in support of down home days. So because of that balance, we were able to do things like that. There's other talk of other projects coming up. So that's why having that balance with the TDC is very effective. Another thing I'd like to talk about is the separation. I believe the 2 organizations can work together, but I still believe we need to be separate. It would sort of be like telling Lonnie over the road department that, hey, now you're responsible for the sheriff's department too, because they use your roads to drive on. they're two separate organizations for a reason. And I believe the TDC and the Chamber are two separate organizations too. There's a reason for it. So I would just ask that you consider the split, but still, we would like to work with the Chamber if they're willing to work with us. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Do we have any more petitions from the public?
Hey, can I speak at this time?
Yes, anyone that the mic is open, please state your name.
Okay, Phyllis Williams.
Okay, Phyllis Williams. Phyllis, you have the floor. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate this. I served as the director of the chamber and administrator of the CDC for 3.5 years. It was difficult trying to change hats and keep everything straight and work and travel for TDC and all. There's a lot of things. To make a decision today would kind of be unfair to TDC since they have procedures that they have to follow before they can approve and submit anything for the board of directors. I mean, in front of for the Board of County Commissioners. And so I would urge you to wait until next week, to just table this today, wait until next week and consider both sides after TDC is able to submit their evidence and their plan and the decision that they are working toward. So that is my request, that you just table this week and pick it up next week or at the next meeting. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Phyllis. Do we have any more comments from the public? Call one more time. Do we have any more comments from the public? Hearing none, we will open it to the board for discussion upon this agreement for the TDC and the chamber. Please mute your mics. The public comment section is over. If you would please mute your mics. Yes, Commissioner Kelly.
I'd like to be heard.
Yes, sir.
I have the material that has been both sides very thoroughly. I remember I am very much against it. I think it would be disingenuous to do this. I think it would be county at this time, particularly given the situation we're in. The money that is through TDC, I think, for a part-time position, and I would make a motion together. A second person be help with the operation of the Chamber of Commerce, which has 1.5. That would be
Commissioners, I'm so very sorry to interrupt. This is Byron Poor here, and due to muting or something, we cannot hear the conversation involving the commissioners. Obviously a very important topic for us, so I'd ask that you help us find resolution for that.
Hey, Byron, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes, now.
Okay. I'm going to open the floor back up to Commissioner Kelly. He was talking, Commissioner Kelly, if you could keep your comments, please.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
If you pull your mic a little closer, you might be able to.
I've got it, yeah. That mic there. Okay.
This is Emerald, and my computer was saying caller 27 and 29 needed to mute theirs.
I don't know who those are.
We don't know, Emerald. All we can do. Commissioner Kelly, you have the floor.
Byron, can you hear me now?
Yes, Commissioner Kelly, we can hear you now.
Okay. I had my mask on also. I've taken it off so you can hear me better. I have, said that have been on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors now for the past 3 or 4 months at the direction of the, chairman. As a representative from the county commission, I have been a voting member. I have read all the documents that have been presented. I have studied it with great detail, and I am making a motion at this time that the two boards stay together, TDC and Chamber of Commerce, and that the funds available find a way to bring on a second part-time employee to assist tourist development, if that's needed, but that the urgency to stay together is paramount. And given the situation we have, I think have worked well together. We also have another entity in the county, the Madison County Country Club and RV Park has brought additional dollars this past year, and will be further doing that we have not had those tourist dollars before, but they will be added to in addition to what we have with the current motels and bed and breakfast that we now get money from. So that would be my recommendation and my motion. Thank you.
Okay. There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Kelly to maintain the Tourism Development Council and the Chamber as one working group.
I'll second it for discussion.
A second by Commissioner Davis, and we will open it for discussion.
I guess part of my discussion would be part of that motion was that, you know, as far as an additional part-time employee, that would really fall under the purview of the Chamber and the TDC working together instead of a mandate by this board.
And I'll be glad to withdraw that to make it better.
Well, Mr. Chair, I would like to make the motion.
Well,
if we could, let's just table this until we can gather some more facts.
we have a motion and a second now.
Mr. Chairman, a motion to table is a superior motion.
Okay.
You take the motion to table first, without discussion, and then if that, does not pass, then you go back.
Okay. All right. So we have a motion on the floor to table this for future discussion.
And this discussion, this is just a too important issue to us not to gather all the facts here.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Commissioner Moore, second by Commissioner Martin. Any discussion upon this?
Yeah, I would just like to say, you know, I think we owe it to TDC to hear their side of it too. You know, I mean, they've been doing this for us for a long time. I want to hear from them. You know, so.
I myself agree with that. I sat on the TDC board, and actually, I don't see how we could take action on it because TDC hasn't presented their proposal yet. That would be my thought as well.
One of the comments I have is, I mean, I've got like 30 or 40 pages of stuff that we received over the last couple of weeks from both TDC and Chamber. I didn't realize or know what other information.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table this to our next board meeting to give us time to do some research and get more information and to allow TDC to present their side of the discussion. Any more discussion? All in favor of the table motion signify by aye. Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, it carries 3-2. Motion carried. Okay?
So we'll have it on our next meeting agenda.
It'll be on our next meeting agenda, yeah. Next meeting, we're moving up to number 7. This is a discussion regarding the referendum for economic development ad valorem tax exemption. This has to be done every 10 years. It was last done 2010. So it's imperative that we get a referendum to get it on the ballot to go before the voters on the November ballot.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Moore to approve, second by Kelly. Any discussion?
Just to note, Chair, at our Madison County Development Council meeting yesterday, this item was discussed thoroughly among NCDC board. And, the chair of the board, Mr. Ed Meggs, has penned a letter basically, supporting that effort. And, just for the record, the MCDC does support that, approval.
It's very important that we have that tool in place.
One thing, Mr. Chairman, is we have to do it by written resolution, so I'll have to prepare a resolution for you
To come back to put it on the
and
ballot.
that should be plenty of time, and where we are now, we've only got, your next election is in August, the ballots are already. Ballot.
Excuse me, could you please mute your mics, please?
And so the earliest time we can put it on the ballot would be in November, and so that's why I would put it, I've drafted a resolution that way, myself.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to follow its course for council to prepare a resolution. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Carries 5-0. Item number 8.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we take about a 5-minute break?
Sure. Okay. We're going to stand recess till 11:45. Okay, at this time, it's, 1:15. I'd like to call this meeting back to order. We're moving to item number 8, reference to a workshop on some subdivision road work, and asked by Commissioner Davis. I will pass it to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, last several months, we've had conversations periodically about some of our private subdivisions and the road conditions there, and some requests for some county assistance in those. And I know that Mr. Lonnie's worked hard on working up some pricing, and I actually had a pretty good map that had an outline of the subdivisions and so forth. So what I would like to do is so we can dive into this, is to try to schedule a workshop with us, Lonnie, and staff to see what our options could be on, and it's unfortunate over the years the way some of the subdivisions were originally laid out and some of the guidelines that were done, and now we're kind of living with those. But I still think we have some responsibility to help where we can, and that's what I want to put on the table. So if we need to set now and start looking at a date, we could do that now, or I know the clerk will soon be putting out some dates for budget workshops. You want to try to work some time in for this, to discuss it at some of, because it's going to be very, part of our budget workshop anyway. So just for discussion and what your thoughts are on. But anyway, I would like to see us have a workshop, whether it's done during the budget workshops or what.
It's, I don't have a preference. Does anyone have a preference as to we do it during the budget workshops, or we want to set a separate workshop date?
Some of our budget workshops have been an all-day event, because Billy usually schedules.
The initial ones are, yeah.
The initial ones, I guess, maybe some.
I mean, our next meeting is,
22nd.
the 22nd at 6 o'clock. I mean, if you wanted to have try to hold a workshop before the meeting,
That's
on
fine
the
with me.
22nd.
Is that sufficient?
I may have a problem. I don't know when I'm gonna be back here for the 22nd meeting. The schedule for my wife's radiation is gonna be after lunch, where I don't miss the morning meeting, but I should be back by 5, but it may be, I don't know exactly when her radiation has to be in the afternoon, how long we'll be over there. This is all due starting next Tuesday. So I'm gonna do, but y'all, whatever y'all decide, it's fine with me. I'll try to do what I can.
That's 5 o'clock, that day before the meeting is good with me. Lonnie, it's good for you?
I'll be here when you tell me.
You think of 1 hour is enough?
I don't know, I was thinking more closer to maybe 4:30, but.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Chair, I got a question. Lonnie, you have any idea how many subdivisions we have in the county? Or just a ballpark figure?
I'm not sure how many subdivisions. I think, Mr. Davis mentioned that I think Brian and Cindy had put together a map of where they were.
I thought you did that map, but no, that's.
They actually put that map together.
Oh, okay.
And Cindy had given me a list. I think there was like 115 or 20 miles. Now, those include the paved roads and dirt roads.
Yeah.
But there's very few paved roads, so.
But I do know that I've already had some contact, and some of the subdivisions have reached out to me in my district that are happy with their homeowner association and the way they're operating, and not necessarily wanting, our assistance. There are subdivisions, however, that their homeowner associations are not working and been defunct for years, and those are the ones that are in serious disrepair, to the point that it has actually got to a point where my concern is for emergency operations and such as that as well, not just normal day-to-day to and from getting in and out, but emergency vehicles and fire, law enforcement, EMS, and so forth.
Well, whatever guidelines we come up with, and I agree that something needs to be done, but, you know, looking at the statute and how the statute is written, whatever we do for one, it'll probably have to be applicable to every subdivision.
I don't know
I don't
that that's.
know whether that's because, well, covenants were written into some subdivisions, I know, and this is one problem. I'm like Commissioner Davis, I have two main ones that are in mind. One, I think, is pretty well taking care of itself. Mr. Blair grades those roads himself, Clay does, and Northwood is not complaining as bad. I think some of them probably like CFA, but the one that we've got, Pine Ridge, is a problem, as most of you know. It's impossible now to go out the east side of, what is that, Blue Ridge, Pine Ridge Boulevard, whatever, the one that comes out there on Cattail. That has been impassable now for about 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. And like Commissioner Davis says, an emergency vehicle could not come in that way if they had to. So, and you cannot get in or out that way. I think that has become a real issue. The problem was when David Catton laid that out, years ago, that was 30 years ago. My understanding was, and somebody, maybe Mr. Reeves could find out for us, I think there was covenant put in there that he wanted those to remain private. And I know there's a lot of people in there now that would like to see that change, so I don't know. That's the problem.
And those are some things that we need to discuss in the workshop. We just need to come up on a date. If you think we need a different time, does anyone have a date in mind? And we can either do it at 4:30 that day, or we can do a different date. It doesn't.
I don't have a problem with 4:30, Mr. Chair.
4:30? Okay, we will set a workshop.
That'd be good.
Okay, if that's good with everyone, we will set a workshop for 4:30 on the 22nd, prior to our meeting.
And if we could, because we'll probably still be social distancing, and if we can arrange this workshop to be made public, people call in.
Okay. Also, if we could, if there is a map that has a map of all the subdivisions, if we could get it emailed or to each commissioner ahead of time, so we could have some kind of an idea of what we're looking at and
I have to do some research.
understand.
Well, I know that there was one meeting we had, and we had this discussion, and there was a map here, color coded.
It was.
And it was specifically, we had on the agenda, we were discussing Blue Ridge Landing.
Sure. I remember seeing the map, but I don't recall.
And at the time, we asked Lonnie to go out and get the amount of miles that were there and a cost per mile for those people. And if I'm not mistaken with our attorney, we had some ability, even though it was private, under certain circumstances, we could go in and improve those roads. If I understand that meeting right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think you do have some circumstances, certainly in emergencies you can. You know, I think the big thing though is getting back to Commissioner Moore's point, is you can't act in an arbitrary fashion. You've got to have guidelines set up and objective criteria on when you're going to do this. I mean, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong if the board decides you want to take over roads and all of that. I mean, it's just, do you have enough money to do it? And you got to have objective criteria where you're treating similar situations the same, you know. And that's, I think, is the issue, you know.
I didn't know it was 4:30. Can you?
Yeah, I believe I can, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we will just set that a meeting at a workshop at 4:30 on the 22nd. Item number 9 also is under Commissioner Davis is asked to, we're going to discuss some of the CARES Act funding and allocations.
You know, at our last meeting, we approved the board, the chair to sign the agreement on our relief fund under the CARES Act, I believe it's CARES Act, or it's the the relief fund. And, it's my understanding that initial 25% we're going to be using for local governments and constitutionals for their expenses and costs. That was my understanding of that.
That's what money can be used for.
Yes.
And that was gonna be kind of the priority with this initial.
The initial 25%, $800 and some odd thousand. But I do know that we as a board have responsibility for the additional monies. And I understand that the additional monies that will be coming in later is done on a reimbursement
Correct.
type basis. But if you've looked at all these guidelines, and my concern or my interest and what I think that we should, as a board, should have cognizant of is part of these funds can be used to support and relief of our local businesses. And I know Commissioner or the Chair had mentioned in the past that, or I believe Sherilyn had mentioned about a committee being formed to look at that. I just want to make sure that we as a board, because our local businesses, of course, is our lifeblood, and they've suffered through this just as our local governments have. And we have abilities to supply grants to those local businesses. Now, we have to come up with a method of how we're going to disperse it, and it has to be done under the guidelines, that we have to set up those guidelines. I know there's been some discussion about with the county staff, it's going to be very burdensome on them with the regular duties to take on this additional responsibility to figure out on the local businesses how those funds are dispersed through grants and meeting the criteria and stuff. I think that we need to, this is my thoughts, just thinking about it, if maybe we've had some discussion with our local chamber, that they may be able to assist us in vetting out and handling those applications that we come up with, application based on the criteria. That business would be able to fill out that application, submit it. They could, whoever would vet it out, and then if it's authorized based on our criteria, then it would go to the clerk for the grant. That was just while I was trying to brainstorm through this thing.
We actually do have an obligation to our businesses, and I think if I'm not mistaken, Mayo has hired an outside firm to help them facilitate this that specializes in grants and knows the ins and outs and what is acceptable and what's not.
And if these funds can be used to support that firm, then
And they can.
they can. Well,
that's why, because
I just didn't want us to be in a position saying, well, if we're going to run it through the county, we don't have the ability to do it as far as the time and extra burdensome on that. But if we have other avenues to approach that, we need to approach.
That's part of our discussion with the committee will be to look at reaching out. And we've already had Billy's already reached out to Mayo and Lafayette County and brought some information. They have contracted or in the process of contracting with an outside company that specializes in this. So they know the ins and outs, what we can do, can't do. They all, as you mentioned earlier, they have the templates, they have everything in place. We may have to tweak it to our county or our needs. But
I just want to make sure that was on the table.
I certainly appreciate Commissioner Davis's comments. They're right in line with, as many of you know, I serve on the Small County Coalition Board of Directors. We've been meeting weekly about the CARES Act, and I have specifically asked Commissioner Burrows from Okeechobee County, which is very similar in size to us, to send us some templates that they used or had developed, and I forwarded them to Ms. Pickles. And also, I specifically did ask the question, can those funds, which, as you know, we get $810,000 on this first 25% infusion, and the rest of it would come after we would have to invoice it back for the other 75% later. But the question was, if we use business grants, and we need to track it, can you hire an outside firm, and can it be paid for in those funds? And the question was, the answer was yes. That is a legitimate expense. I checked this with Chris Doolin as well as Devin Suggs with FAC, and so this would be totally correct. And Lafayette County's doing it, and as well as I think several other counties, Levy and Citrus, I think, are doing the same thing. Several other counties have already are in the process of doing the same thing if they haven't already done it.
Well, the funds are, as we understand, they're there. We just got to get a grasp on exactly what we can do and how we can do, and if they're there at our disposal, we need to use them to help our businesses that have suffered some losses.
I think too, part of this, and I know the committee will work on it, and I'll finish what the remaining funds, we need to kind of project what will, the local governments and constitutionals would need as well, and then set aside that other too, so we kind of have an idea of, because we have December 31 to
Coming quick. I do know, and I'm Sherilyn has reached out to constitutionals as well as all the department heads to make sure that they are starting putting their list together. Am I correct?
That email's going out today.
Okay. She's in the process of doing it. But I know that some of them I have heard they are starting to put together or putting together their expenses that they have incurred and
right. And we've
things
already been tracking a lot of it that's been spent because there's also FEMA money that's available, that's been made available. So a lot of the expenses that our departments and constitutionals have incurred since all this began, we already have a handle on and have the invoices for all of that.
I would say it's been a pretty major expense. F has contacted me about the jail. There's some zero pressure rooms that they would need for future pandemics, and other things. So yes, it's in the process, but yes, we will be.
Yeah, these supplies, cleaning supplies and disinfecting supplies are not, we've got to plan for those for the future.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, we've also got all the plexiglass screens that they put up in all the offices. I think every constitutional office put them up.
Sure.
And I know a lot of businesses, I know the banks have, I think a lot of other businesses around town have, and I know those are legitimate expenses.
Okay.
That was my purpose for asking that on the agenda, Mr. Chair.
We will, as soon as we get some information back with the committee, it will be a report back to the board very shortly because time is the essence. As we continue to close, I'm going to go to our attorney. Any reports from the attorney, sir?
No, sir, not unless you have questions.
Thank you.
I have a
Ms. Pickles, do you have any comments? I have a question from the audience on phone?
Yes, sir. I have a question. Are you all addressing the mask mandate today?
Mask mandate.
No, ma'am, we are not at this time.
Is that an item on the agenda today?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pickles, do you have anything from the county manager's office?
No, sir. I think we've covered it, talking about some of those.
Darlene, do you have anything from the clerk's office? No, sir. Told you I'd give you a chance to talk. We'll start with the commissioner comments. Commissioner Kelly.
No, pass.
Commissioner Martin.
I don't have none.
Mr. Davis.
Yesterday's MCDC meeting, had a pretty long conversation. And part of that agenda was as you know, our Brian was served as executive director at MCDC as well. And in that discussion, on that agenda was to have a replacement for that. And Mr. Doug Brown has graciously volunteered to serve as the interim executive director of the Madison County Development Council. I appreciate him stepping in and doing that, and he'll be working, of course, closely with Mr. Ed Dean through the MCDC. So I just want to let the board know where we're at on MCDC right now, and we're also going to be looking at our bylaws closer in the next month as we move forward. And also, last meeting I had a discussion just talking with, I don't know if y'all had a conversation about it, but I would like to, and I mentioned to Sherilyn about the possibility on our go-to meetings. I try to log in and look at it on my iPad to kind of have more interaction and see, you know, who is on the line or dialed in. But if there's a way that we can, with our internal technology here, update so we can have the go-to meeting displayed on the screen. I know that the company that we have said they'd have to come in and figure out what some of the issues are. But if we can do that, so that would, I think it would be more beneficial for us and the public if we can have that put on the screen.
Yeah, one of the issues I see on when I looked at it on the computer, they identify some of the callers, and on some you just got a number.
Right.
So I don't know if we want to make, or if we can make any improvements in that area.
If they call in, it just
If
says,
it's on the phone, it'll just say caller.
yeah, it'll just say caller.
It's on their end, not ours.
But I would like to be able to see, you know, the go-to meeting, you know, on the screen if possible.
Would Zoom work better than GoToMeeting, or not?
It's internally of how this all connects to the TV, from here to there.
Okay. And that Inspire Technology would be the one taking it.
Commissioner Moore?
Mr. Chair, I yield my time. I don't have anything.
The only thing, I don't have anything. I just remind everybody we have a workshop on the 22nd at 4:30 before our regular meeting to discuss the subdivisions, roads. Having no more, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion second. All said.